Welcome back to Plot 27 Recaps. September 2nd, 1980. Morgan Carlyle, the owner of the Paragon Hotel, secures millions of dollars from investors to expand the property. One of its biggest financial backers is the notorious crime boss, Meyer Lansky. But not long after construction begins, Morgan's wife is brutally murdered. Following her death, Morgan vanishes without a trace, along with millions of dollars belonging to the late Meyer Lansky. The Paragon Hotel is eventually abandoned and permanently shut down. Years later, Diane becomes a member of the Creepers, a group of urban explorers addicted to adrenaline and determined to push every boundary. The team also includes Rick, Vern, and Cora, while their fifth member, JD, stays behind to handle the equipment and record their stunts. Today's challenge is jumping from a moving train. After slipping past security, the four climb aboard and successfully pull off the dangerous stunt. Their mission isn't over yet, though. Since the exit gate is locked, Cora, the group's lockpicking expert, climbs up and unlocks it from the other side. As they make their way through a graffiti-covered tunnel, they stumble upon an extraordinary discovery: a genuine mural painted by the legendary street artist Basquiat. Realizing how valuable it is, Rick immediately tells Vern to photograph every inch of it before they leave. Once Vern finishes documenting the artwork, JD suddenly starts chipping the mural off the wall. Rick is furious. The Creepers have one simple rule: take nothing, leave nothing. When JD refuses to back down and insists on taking a piece of the Basquiat mural with him, Rick immediately throws him out of the group. Later, they upload footage of their latest stunt to social media, hoping it will finally make them famous. Instead, the video barely reaches 82 views. Determined to find something bigger, Rick, who also happens to be Diane's boyfriend, reveals a set of original blueprints he secretly obtained from the Department of Water and Power. The blueprints belong to the long-abandoned Paragon Hotel, an isolated seaside landmark with a dark history. After digging through old records online, Rick uncovers an unsettling story. The hotel was once connected to the legendary gangster Meyer Lansky and the mysterious disappearance of his missing $300 million fortune. Over the years, countless treasure hunters have searched for the money. None of them were ever seen again. According to local urban legends, the Paragon Hotel isn't just abandoned. It's haunted by something far more sinister. The story immediately captures everyone's attention, and they agree to explore the hotel for their next adventure. Before they leave, Rick reminds the team of their only objective. They're there to document the truth, not to steal anything. Not even Lansky's missing fortune. Meanwhile, JD joins a different exploration crew and uploads a video showing off the stolen piece of the Basquiat mural. Later, Rick, Cora, and Vern wait for Diane at a roadside motel. To everyone's surprise, Cora has invited a local news reporter named Frank to join the expedition. When Diane arrives, she's caught completely off guard by the unexpected guest. Frank explains that he's interested in documenting their investigation into the mystery of the Paragon Hotel. Confused, Rick asks how he even knew about their mission. Diane reluctantly admits that she secretly announced the expedition online, hoping the publicity would attract more viewers. With no reason to back out now, the five of them pile into Frank's vehicle and set off for the abandoned Paragon Hotel. When they finally arrive, they discover that every entrance has been boarded up and surrounded by fencing, leaving only a narrow underground tunnel as a way inside. As they crawl through the cramped passage, hundreds of rats suddenly rush past them. Cora freezes in terror, but Frank quickly shields her until the swarm disappears into the darkness. After making it through the tunnel, Diane separates from the group to search for another entrance. A few moments later, Cora successfully picks the lock on a cluttered storage door and calls Diane back, announcing that they've found a way inside. The group finally steps into the massive Paragon Hotel, while Diane wanders off alone, live streaming the entire exploration. Overwhelmed by the sheer size of the building, Rick lets out an excited shout. The echo startles a colony of bats, sending them flying through the lobby and knocking a massive light fixture loose from the ceiling. It crashes to the floor just inches away from Cora. Meanwhile, Diane enters the hotel's abandoned music hall. An eerie sound suddenly echoes through the empty room. Alarmed, she turns and sprints for the exit, but slips and falls before she can escape. Then, a mysterious figure silently appears behind her. When Diane suddenly stops responding, Rick orders everyone to split up and search every floor of the hotel. Along the way, Cora admits she's always let Rick believe he's the team's leader. Since he works as a security guard at Home Depot, he's the one who supplies most of the equipment they use on their expeditions. Meanwhile, Frank reveals that his wife is named Amanda, but the conversation is cut short when Rick tells everyone to stay focused and keep moving. While photographing the building for documentation, Vern notices a series of massive claw marks carved deep into one of the walls. The moment Rick sees the photos, he realizes something is seriously wrong. He immediately orders everyone to find Diane as quickly as possible. Cora and Vern head to the front desk in search of a master key, while Rick continues searching alongside Frank. As Vern digs through old records, he comes across a newspaper article revealing that the owner of the Paragon Hotel vanished shortly after his wife was brutally murdered. At the same time, Rick suddenly steps into a hidden bear trap, badly injuring his leg. Vern can't understand why anyone would place a bear trap inside an abandoned hotel. Then, without warning, Rick hears Diane's phone ringing somewhere upstairs. The group immediately follows the sound. What they discover is far more disturbing than they expected. In the middle of the room stands a massive tree covered with dozens of hanging phones and cameras, including Diane's phone. After watching the final video recorded on her device, they realize they're no longer dealing with an ordinary abandoned building. Something is hunting them. As the search continues, they're suddenly confronted by JD, who has secretly returned with another crew. When Vern notices Frank carrying a handgun, he immediately suspects he's an undercover police officer. Before Frank has a chance to explain himself, JD's partner, Todd, attacks him and snatches the gun away. Todd, JD, and Mac reveal that they came to the Paragon Hotel for one reason: to find Meyer Lansky's missing fortune. Seeing Cora being threatened, Frank calmly stands his ground and asks Todd if he even knows how to use the weapon he's holding. He then makes one thing clear: he's not a cop. He's searching for his missing wife. Amanda works as an investigative reporter. 2 months earlier, she disappeared alongside her photographer while investigating the mystery surrounding the Paragon Hotel. After the police failed to make any real progress, Frank decided to follow the creepers after seeing Diane's online post about the expedition. Rick notices Todd holding Diane's handkerchief and asks him to hand it over. As Rick slowly reaches for it, Todd suddenly throws it over the upper floor railing. Watching Rick plunge over the edge, JD is horrified. That was never part of the plan. He reminds Todd that they only intended to scare the creepers, not kill them. Ignoring JD's protest, Todd orders Frank to lead him to the hidden fortune. Frank refuses, explaining that only Rick has the printed copy of the hotel's blueprints. Realizing they still need him alive, Todd orders everyone to find Rick immediately. Not long afterward, they spot Rick's body lying across the room. But just as they move toward him, the floor suddenly collapses between them. Using her climbing skills, Cora carefully makes it across the gap. To her shock, the body isn't Rick at all. As she prepares to climb back, Todd deliberately shoots the rope, leaving her stranded on the other side. The rest of the group enters another room and notices an old wardrobe that seems strangely out of place. Mac cautiously opens it, only to find nothing inside. Then, out of nowhere, a hand reaches out and grabs him. The person hiding inside is Beth, Amanda's missing photographer. Before anyone can ask questions, another eerie sound echoes through the room. Terrified, Beth warns them that something is coming, something that's going to kill them all. Todd orders Mac to close the curtains, and the two men switch on their night vision goggles. Seconds later, they freeze in horror. A spear has been driven straight through JD's mouth. Panicking, Todd and Mac open fire at the terrifying figure moving through the darkness. But in the chaos, they accidentally shoot Beth instead, killing her instantly. Meanwhile, Diane regains consciousness inside a mysterious ritual chamber. Elsewhere, Cora unexpectedly reunites with Rick, who has been hiding inside one of the hotel's abandoned rooms. When the strange sound echoes through the hallway once again, Rick urgently tells Cora to hide. Moments later, the monstrous figure quietly enters the room. Without hesitation, Rick throws himself at the creature, giving Cora just enough time to escape. The monster immediately turns its attention toward her and begins the chase. After running through several corridors, Cora finally stumbles into a surveillance control room filled with old security monitors. At the same time, Diane searches the ritual chamber for another way out. Unable to escape, she instead discovers an ancient book resting inside the room. Inside the control room, Cora discovers a collection of old surveillance tapes dating back to 1979. Curious, she plays one of the recordings and sees Morgan speaking directly to the camera. He explains that he has been entrusted with a secret so powerful that it could change his life forever. At the same time, Diane realizes the ancient book she found was a gift from Meyer Lansky to Morgan. In one of the book's notes, Lansky warns him to use it wisely. The book promises unimaginable power, but at a terrible cost. As Diane continues reading, she learns that it contains forbidden rituals dedicated to channeling an entity known as the Lord of Darkness, an ancient evil that draws its power from demons and the devil himself. One chapter describes the ritual of transformation, a horrifying ceremony capable of turning an ordinary human into a demon. Meanwhile, Todd and Mac are thrilled after finally discovering Lansky's hidden fortune. Back in the control room, another videotape exposes the horrifying truth. To obtain demonic power, Morgan was forced to sacrifice the person he loved most. He murdered his own wife. The ritual worked. Terrified after discovering a horribly mutilated corpse nearby, Mac abandons Todd and desperately tries to escape. But it's already too late. Morgan, now fully transformed into a monstrous demon, hunts them down without mercy. He brutally kills both Mac and Todd before ripping out their hearts to strengthen his dark powers. As Diane continues reading, she uncovers the ritual's final and most terrifying requirement. The transformation can only be completed when the Lord of Darkness is offered the union of two souls that long to become one. Once the ceremony begins, the half-human beast is granted eternal life along with the limitless darkness it has always desired. The moment Diane finishes reading the final page, she slowly looks up, only to find Morgan standing silently behind her. Frank and Vern eventually discover Mac's body and use the radio they find on him to contact Cora. Watching through the surveillance monitors, Cora immediately warns them that the creature is heading their way. Without wasting a second, Frank and Vern duck into the hotel's abandoned kitchen, where they arm themselves with a pair of large knives. Meanwhile, Cora discovers a possible escape route through the hotel's garbage chute. Unfortunately, the lift mechanism no longer works, leaving them with only one option: they'll have to pull themselves up by hand. Vern climbs first and successfully reaches the top, where he reunites with Cora. As Frank starts climbing, Morgan suddenly smashes through the kitchen door and charges straight at him. Realizing there's no time left, Frank tells Vern to cut the cable. The line snaps just as Morgan reaches it, allowing Frank to narrowly escape. The three agree to regroup at the penthouse. Instead, Frank heads back to the giant tree, convinced it may hold clues about Amanda's disappearance. As he searches through the hanging phones, he finally finds Amanda's phone. Moments later, Cora radios him with urgent news. They've found someone on the 9th floor. Frank rushes upstairs, only to discover Amanda's brutally murdered body. Heartbroken but refusing to give up, Frank reunites with Cora and Vern and tells them there's still one person they can save: Diane. He orders Cora and Vern to keep monitoring the security cameras while he goes after her alone. Meanwhile, the ceremony of the Sacred Soul is about to begin. Diane has already been dressed in ceremonial robes and prepared for the ritual, but she has only been pretending to cooperate. Without warning, she launches a surprise attack on Morgan. Enraged, the monstrous demon prepares to kill her. Before he can strike, Frank bursts into the chamber and throws himself at the creature. The impact sends Morgan over the edge. The demon is finally killed, but Frank sacrifices his own life to save Diane. After receiving Rick's last known location from Cora, Diane races to the third floor. Inside one of the rooms, she finds Rick lying motionless on the floor. To her relief, he's still alive. Following the terrifying events at the Paragon Hotel, the creepers become internet sensations, dedicating their newfound fame to Frank and the sacrifice he made. However, the story ends with one final twist. Rick secretly walks away with a portion of Meyer Lansky's missing fortune. And that's how the movie ends. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next movie recap.